but what if we want the glass to refract the video as well as just objects behind it in the scene? This tutorial starts with the end of the last one about glass that refracts objects and has an alpha layer. But if you only need your glass to refract the video and nothing else, then you can pretty much follow this as well. The differences I'll point out as we get to them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new collection here, which I'm going to call glass. And I'm going to move two objects into it, one of them being the glass itself, which is this one. You know what, I'm going to call it glass so I can know what I'm doing. And the other one is the camera. And I'm going to create a new scene and select link objects. So that now I have two scenes, and if I alter anything in one, it will alter it in the other as well. So I've basically got two clone scenes that are consistently clones of each other. This one, however, I'm going to call workbench, because I'm going to use the workbench render engine for it. So let's go to the render settings and set this one to workbench. And I'm going to unlink this collection. So I'm going to right click that collection and go unlink. So this scene consists of just the camera and the glass object. If you have multiple glass objects, then you would have had to move all of them into this collection called glass as well. And I'm going to set this one to metcap, and I'm going to set that metcap. And I'm going to roll down here, and under film, I'm going to set the alpha mode to transparent. Right, now let's press F12 to render. And I'm going to shut that window and hop into compositing. Where as I cloned it before, I've basically got this compositing node set up from before, which is fine. I just need to swap this one for the other scene, and I need to duplicate that with Shift D, and this one I'm going to set to workbench. And I'm also going to Shift A, add an input movie clip, and I'm going to select my background video, which will take a moment because I can't remember which one it is. That's the one there. No, that's that one. I'll do it on the grid first. So let's now look at this one. So now first of all, I'm going to put the movie clip into the output there. I'm just going to drag across there and drag that down. I'm going to add in distort a displace node. So this displace node, we put that there, and we can use the image here into the vector, which isn't really doing anything yet. Let's set these X and Y scales to, I don't know, about 300. And you can kind of see how the refraction is working already, but I don't know if you noticed, the background here moved, which is not what we want. We want that when the face is pointing directly at us, we want that to not affect us, to affect it. So if we add a color mix and put it there, and don't worry, I'm going to unbreak it very quickly. I'm going to select a subtract, and the color that we're going to subtract, I'm going to use the eyedropper, and on here I'm going to select a face that's pointing directly at us. So there, we're now refracting that. So we have the refraction here. Okay, what else but there are a few things we can do to improve this. I'm going to drag this over here, and I'm going to add a distort scale. And we can scale this. Relative is good. Let's scale it to 1.5, 1.55. So it's 1.5 times its original size. But we also want to put another mix node in. You know what? Let's just duplicate this mix node. Shift D, put it there. And we don't want to subtract. What we want is a mix. and I want that in the second one, and I want that in the first one, and we want to use the alpha layer as the mix factor, so that if there's nothing here, it's not affecting it at all, whereas if there is something there, it's zooming in and it's doing that cool refraction thing. And the next stage, as you might imagine, is to mix this thing in, which is actually pretty simple. Let's add a colour alpha over, drop that there. I think it's great how it just orders my thing. It's just shifted everything over nicely as I did that. Very handy. And I can drop that image in there. Huh. Oh yes, this scene isn't actually rendered. But if I press F12 now... and I can use roll the middle mouse button to zoom out. We have now refracted the background layer according to the glass, and we've refracted the background objects. If you're not using my sort of green screen colour keying method of getting refraction with an alpha layer, then you can just drop this image straight in rather than going through the keying first. It's as simple as that. I will point out that this refraction is not physically accurate. If you want to say, well, actually I'm not doing glass, I'm using a sort of perspex that has an unusually low index of refraction of just 1.2, how do I reflect that in the numbers here? I'm really not going to be able to answer that, I'm afraid. I think you might just have to do some experimenting and see what looks good. Anyway, thank you. I'll see you soon. If you can think of anything else that's hard to do in Eevee with Alpha, give me a shout and I'll see if I can twist some nodes together till it works.